Same mom and dad.
Same
yeah,
mom and dad.
I believe
Like
so.
the tennis
I ain't gotta help my bulldogger sister. It look like a boy. Whoever hold pussy you sucking.
Oh man.
I ain't gotta help nobody. I made it. I ain't gotta help my mama. My mama should have had her shit together before I made it.
Right.
So don't put that pressure on me, mama. It was your responsibility to raise me.
Whoever catch Charleston White recording and knock his whole ass out and take his phone, fool, I give 3,500 flat. Call my bluff. If one of y'all can catch that bitch just talking on
Yo,
the phone.
hold up. Run that back. Did she really just announce a cash prize on a man's head on camera for the entire internet to witness? $3,500. That's the number Victoria Wood, better known as Bro, sister of GloRilla, decided was the value of Charleston White's safety. $3,500. Recorded, uploaded, circulated, and digested by the timeline like it was just more content. Another viral clip in the endless soap opera of social media drama. But listen to this. While folks were busy laughing, reposting, and farming engagement, Charleston White was already dialing his attorney. This is the full breakdown. The tension, the alleged bounty, the legal chess move nobody anticipated, and what it really says about treating the internet like it's a playground with no consequences. Let's unpack it. Before we even touch the bounty, before we dissect GloRilla's sister's role, before any of this adds up, you need to understand who Charleston White actually is. Because if you think this is just some random online loudmouth catching heat from a celebrity's family, you're missing the entire framework. Charleston White was raised in Fort Worth, Texas, not the gritty version people romanticize in music videos. He grew up suburban, protected, and supported, with a mother employed at General Motors, a grandfather running a barbershop, and a network of uncles and cousins forming a tight-knit foundation. But here's the part people gloss over. He spent much of his childhood inside hospital rooms. From ages 5 to 12, surgeries were routine. 2 major leg operations after a freak accident at 5 years old when he fell into a washing machine on a full spin cycle, shattering bones from the waist down. Then, at 7, a homemade slingshot mishap, followed by a head collision at the circus, led to 9 separate eye surgeries over several years. 9! He grew up wearing a prosthetic eye. He relied on a private tutor because traditional schooling wasn't consistent. His early years were defined by medical recovery. Then, at 12, the first year he managed to complete a full school term, everything shifted. He ended up in the Texas Youth Commission, at the time the state's most violent youth offender system, structured around something called positive peer culture, designed for juveniles convicted of murder. He wasn't one of those cases. He was a suburban kid who got swept into gang culture during the first stretch of freedom he'd ever truly experienced. Finally mobile, finally outside, he gravitated toward the first environment that offered belonging and identity his sheltered upbringing never prepared him for. He spent 7 years inside that program, walked out at 21, and began reshaping himself into something the system rarely produces. A man who understands that system from the inside out. He became a mitigation specialist, someone who works alongside criminal defense teams to humanize defendants and to explain the pathways that lead people into courtrooms. He later built a massive social media following. He stepped into stand-up comedy. He toured with Live Nation. He funded and executed a 52-week independent tour. He secured a Las Vegas residency, landed a water brand partnership, ventured into boxing management, and fronted a television show titled Could Have Been Love. This is not someone who accidentally wanders into controversy. This is someone who studies how consequences unfold, legally, socially, and spiritually. So when a public bounty gets tossed at him, and the assumption is he'll either shrink back or fire off a quick live stream response, that calculation misses the mark entirely. Now let's rewind to the spark that ignited all this, because it started with a podcast, a conversation, a perspective. Charleston appeared on the Talks with AJ podcast out of Miami. During the discussion, the host referenced a trending situation, GloRilla's sister publicly criticizing her for allegedly making it and not supporting her family. The host asked Charleston directly for his thoughts. His response, verbatim, "I think they have sisters. That's them. They got two different mamas." The host corrected him, "Same mom and dad." Charleston adjusted and continued, "Same mom and dad. And I don't have to help my bulldozer sister. Whoever you are sucking, I don't have to help anybody. I made it. I don't have to help my mama. My mama should have had her stuff together before I made it, right? So don't put that pressure on me, mama. It was your responsibility to raise me, not for me to grow up and take care of you." Now pause. Let's really analyze what that was. That was commentary on what many call the black tax, the expectation that when someone from a black family or community achieves success, they automatically become financially responsible for everyone around them. Charleston used GloRilla's family situation as a springboard for a larger conversation about duty, obligation, and personal boundaries. Was it sharp? Definitely. Was it guaranteed to trigger people? Without question. But it was an opinion. It wasn't a direct attack on GloRilla as an artist. It wasn't a targeted threat at her sister. It wasn't a dare.
It was an opinion shared during a podcast by a man who had just spent the previous half hour explaining how he bought his mother a house, purchased his sister a brand new car off the showroom floor, and took care of his entire family before spending real money on himself. "I could have had mansions," he said. "I gave it all to the people I love first." That irony? We'll get back to it. But first, let's talk about Victoria Wood's reaction. Bro didn't clap back with her own podcast sit-down. She didn't call into a live stream. She didn't subtweet. She didn't even drop a diss track. Instead, she got on camera and offered $3,500 to anyone willing to attack Charleston White physically, bash his face in, as she put it, and snatch his phone. Now hold up, let's be crystal clear about what that means legally, because the internet kept treating it like viral entertainment. When you publicly offer money to a third party in exchange for committing violence against a named individual, that qualifies as solicitation to commit assault. In certain jurisdictions, depending on context and intent, it can escalate to conspiracy. You don't have to hand over the cash. You don't need a specific person lined up. The offer itself, paired with intent, is enough. And she made that offer on camera, face visible, using her real identity tied directly to her public association as GloRilla's sister, which amplified its reach far beyond what an anonymous burner account ever could. The internet? Absolute chaos. Some people were laughing. Others called her reckless. A few were hyped, asking who was about to go collect the money. The comments were moving fast. The clips spread everywhere. And ironically, that virality made the legal implications heavier, because now there's no plausible deniability. No, "I didn't mean it." No, "I didn't think it would go public." She watched it trend and let it stand. Now listen, this isn't about blindly defending Charleston White. His initial public reaction was intense. He went live with weapons visible. He compared himself to George Zimmerman. He made deeply offensive remarks about Trayvon Martin, saying Trayvon was disobedient and deserved what happened, statements that understandably sparked outrage. He was waving what viewers described as a sword. He talked about choking people in wheelchairs and hitting women, wild, inflammatory rhetoric. The audience split instantly. Some thought he'd completely unraveled. Others believed it was a calculated performance. Even people who agreed that the bounty crossed a line got distracted by how chaotic his reaction appeared. And let's be honest, some of that criticism was fair. The Trayvon comments were unnecessary, painful. They targeted a family unrelated to this conflict. That crossed a boundary that didn't need crossing. And the backlash wasn't misplaced. But here's the part most people missed while they were focused on the spectacle. While the cameras captured the outrage, behind the scenes, Charleston was moving strategically. And this is where it gets serious. Strategic in a way only someone deeply familiar with the justice system would execute. While the public drama played out, Charleston was on the phone with his agency, his lawyer, and the Miami Police Department. He filed an official police report. He obtained a case number. The state attorney's office was notified.
And according to his own account, when investigators reviewed Victoria Wood's video in a formal setting, listening to her explicitly offer money to harm a specific individual, the reaction from law enforcement was immediate and deliberate. Then Charleston returned to the camera, not to escalate, not to threaten retaliation, but to deliver a statement that sounded measured, intentional, and almost scripted for the record. He repeated it 4 times, slowly and clearly, as if cleared by counsel. To anybody thinking about taking that $3,500, the police are now involved. He said it again, the police are now involved. And again, the police are now involved. That's not fear, that's awareness. That's a man who knows every word captured on camera can later be replayed in a courtroom. He went on record saying law enforcement had been notified, that this had escalated into a criminal issue, and that anyone trying to grab that $3,500 wouldn't be stepping into beef. They'd be stepping into a documented, premeditated assault case with an active report already filed. He even said it plainly. I don't know what made Funky Monkey think I wasn't going to call 911 on her. Now listen, here's where things may have really tightened up legally for GloRilla. After the police report, after Charleston publicly repeated that authorities were involved, after it was widely known that charges were being considered, she uploaded another video. And in that clip, she doubled down and confirmed the bounty still stood. Charleston's response? 5 cold words. You just convicted yourself. And from a legal perspective, he's not reaching, because at that point, the I was emotional or I didn't know defense gets thinner. She had been made aware this could be criminal conduct, and she reaffirmed it anyway. That second video doesn't just reflect the original act, it strengthens proof of intent and willfulness. That hits different in front of a judge than I posted something dumb while upset. Charleston made it clear he intends to press charges and attend every hearing. And for anyone thinking he's bluffing, remember, on the Talks with AJ podcast, he openly described himself as someone who's been a snitch since childhood, someone who believes lying is cowardly, someone whose brand is built on saying exactly what he means, even when it costs him. He's lost 13 or 14 shows over controversy. His agency has had to clean up the backlash. His platform has taken hits. He kept moving. This isn't someone filing paperwork for clout and then backing down quietly. Now let's circle back to that podcast because there's a detail that makes this whole situation almost painfully ironic. The same interview where Charleston commented on GloRilla's family drama, the one GloRilla seemingly took as a personal attack, also included this. When asked about the so-called black tax and whether he supports his own people, he said, I bought my mom a house, a car off the showroom floor, my sister a car, my cousin a car, and my son a car. Dog, I bought everybody something before I bought myself anything. I could have had 2 or 3 mansions. I gave it to the loved ones I appreciate. That felt like buying a Wraith. So the man accused of being anti-family is the same man publicly describing putting family first financially. He wasn't arguing against helping loved ones. He was pushing back against obligation being weaponized, against guilt being used as leverage, against entitlement simply because of proximity to success. And GloRilla, who was publicly frustrated about GloRilla allegedly not doing enough, responded by offering money for violence against him. From the outside, those optics look wild. You're upset about financial loyalty, so you escalate to a felony-level situation. That irony? The culture's gonna dissect that for a minute. To understand why Charleston chose the legal route, the measured statements, the documented warnings, the Starbucks stroll in Cleveland like nothing happened, you have to understand his mindset. On that same podcast, he said something that explains everything. I'm whatever I need to be to get the desired outcome. He also said, reflecting on childhood, I've always told the truth, even if it costs me. Lying feels cowardly. So yeah, I'm a snitch, and he said it proudly. He didn't grow up in a household where calling the police was betrayal. His mother was a foster parent. His family dealt with institutions. He spent years inside the justice system, not adjading it, but studying it. Most people in his position, when a bounty hits the timeline, either hide or escalate. They go live, they match energy, they move by street logic. Charleston filed paperwork, then walked around downtown Cleveland the next morning wearing a $100,000 watch with no security, live streaming regular people heading to work. He said, "I woke up in Miami and went to sleep in Cleveland. I ain't worked a job in 15 years. Calm, deliberate, because he knew the process was already in motion. Now zoom out, because this part matters beyond Charleston and GloRilla. We're in an era where social media drama has blurred the line between performance and prosecutable conduct, and a lot of people with platforms don't know where that line sits. Offering money for someone's assault isn't clout, it's criminal. Posting it on Instagram or TikTok doesn't make it less serious. It makes it archived, time-stamped, shareable, and admissible. The same algorithm that pushed that video viral can place it in front of a detective who views it through legal language, not entertainment culture. And in legal terms, describing payment for violence, that reads like a textbook solicitation tied to robbery elements. Charleston has always said consequences are real, systems are real. The gap between what feels like internet talk and what the law categorizes as criminal intent has swallowed a lot of people who thought it wouldn't apply to them. On that same podcast, discussing mitigation work, he said, "You've got to undo the wrong you were taught." Maybe GloRilla never realized that a $3,500 bounty post is a chargeable offense, or maybe she did and assumed it wouldn't stick. It sticks. So here's where things stand. Charleston White says he filed a report with the Miami Police Department. He has a case number. His lawyer and agency are involved. The state attorney's office has been briefed. Victoria Wood allegedly reaffirmed the bounty after being informed of possible charges, which his legal team views as self-incriminating. Charleston says he's pressing forward. He says he'll attend every court date, not to prove street dominance, but to set a legal example. Whether formal charges move forward, whether this heads to trial, or whether it resolves quietly, we don't know yet. But this isn't regular timeline beef that disappears when the next scandal trends. This one has paperwork attached. And if you're watching this thinking about making a similar move, posting a "whoever gets him" comment, offering money as a joke, venting publicly, understand this clearly. The internet archives everything. Law enforcement understands digital evidence, and some of the people you target know exactly